So I gave his speech a D.
Tell me why.
It started out great, but then he went into mistruths and grievances and attacks, and it just totally contradicted itself in terms of what he wanted to achieve with unity.
His rhetoric hasn't changed about the election, 2020 election, and I'm really concerned that we're going to have another issue depending on who wins. So, I'm just really praying that if Trump wins, the guardrails of democracy will hold.
That was a CNN panel of undecided voters reacting to the hot mess that was Donald Trump's Republican convention speech, a speech that we were all told would reflect his new tone and message of unity and his serene nature, and how this time is totally, definitely, absolutely going to be different. And, well, what we got was this.
The Democrat Party should immediately stop weaponizing the justice system and labeling their political opponent as an enemy of democracy. If Democrats want to unify our country, they should drop these partisan witch hunts, which I have been going through for approximately 8 years. Crazy Nancy Pelosi, the whole thing, just boom, boom, boom. I am the one saving democracy for the people of our country. I will end every single international crisis that the current administration has created. Our opponents inherited a world at peace and turned it into a planet of war. We're in a planet of war. The whole world was at peace, and now the world is blowing up around us. The election result, we're never going to let that happen again. They used COVID to cheat. We're never going to let it happen again. If you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States, think of it, the 10 worst, added them up, they will not have done the damage that Biden has done, and our planet is teetering on the edge of World War III. And by the way, Wisconsin, I hope you will remember this in November and give us your vote. I am trying to buy your vote. I'll be honest about that. We will very quickly make America great again. Thank you very much.
Because nothing says new tone quite like railing against crazy Nancy Pelosi and rambling on for over 90 minutes, a quarter of which was basking in the glory of nearly being assassinated. It really is no wonder he didn't seem all that bothered by Melania avoiding kissing him when she came up on stage, considering the guy already fillets himself more than any other human being could possibly do anyway. Americans are right now remembering that despite the media spin, despite the claims that he's running a disciplined campaign, despite his promises that his near-death experience changed him, that Donald Trump, at his core, is the same person he's always been, which is a man focused solely on divisiveness, retribution, and fear. Donald Trump doesn't have another setting. He is a demagogue, and without demagoguery, he would not win, and he knows that, which is why he will only wield that tool. So anyone suggesting that there's going to be a new tone either doesn't understand the most basic principles of politics and Donald Trump, or they're propagandists seeking to pull the wool over Americans' eyes, or the prospect of another Trump term serves their financial interests. So when you see headlines like this one from Axios, getting shot in the face changes a man, do you think Axios believes it? Do you think they really believe that? Or do you think they benefit financially from saying it? When the Washington Examiner's headline reads, Trump and some allies aim to shift tone with message of unity, do you think they really believe that? Or do you think they're just acting as propagandists for the political party that they support? Trump and Republicans' messaging strategy relies almost exclusively on two things. One, a right-wing media machine that will advocate for Trump no matter what he does, so that what happened to Richard Nixon in 1974 never happens again to somebody in the Republican Party. And two, a mainstream media that will allow itself to be gamed by the right. The media in this country is so afraid of being labeled liberal that it bends over backwards to prove that it's not liberal by allowing the right to act as its assignment editors. They figure if we can just write enough stories about Hillary's emails and Biden's age and Obama's tan suit and on, then we'll finally steer clear of charges of bias from the right. And of course, the ultimate irony of all of this is that the right will always attack the media regardless. All of that goodwill, and what does it get them from Republicans? Absolutely nothing. And yet, does the media ever change its ways knowing how the right operates? Not at all. The fact is that Trump largely benefited from being out of the public spotlight. He benefited from the fact that people forgot the lunacy and chaos that consumed this country back when he was in office. And yet here, when Trump had the opportunity to reach the entire country with this Republican convention acceptance speech, he quite literally could not help himself and yet again showed everybody exactly who he is. All the guy had to do was give a 20-minute speech right off the teleprompter, offer up some vague platitudes, pepper in some political buzzwords, and call it a day. But Trump decided that he wanted the longest acceptance speech in history because you couldn't pry him off that stage, and so he rambled on for over an hour and a half, attacked the Democrats, spouted conspiracy theories, massaged his own ego, and desperately wallowed in his insatiable appetite for adulation to the point where all those people who'd forgotten who Trump was were immediately reminded. And that is a testament to not only Trump's lunacy, which is already well documented, but also his inability to control himself. He is so desperate for some pats on the head by anyone that it trumps everything else. And so think about how dangerous that is. If you're a dictator in the world and you see someone like Donald Trump in office, someone who will melt into a puddle in the palm of your hand if you pay him compliments, don't you think they'll do that to get what they want? Trump doesn't care about the country. He doesn't care about its citizens. He doesn't care about high costs or lost jobs. He cares about himself. He cares about attention. He cares about basking in adulation. That's what his whole life has been about. He wants praise. He doesn't care about the government or finding solutions to problems. He just wants to market it as if he does. In fact, you know who articulated this better than even I can? Donald Trump's own VP pick, J.D. Vance. According to a piece he wrote for The Atlantic, quote, "To every complex problem, he promises a simple solution. He never offers details for how these plans will work because he can't. Trump's promises are the needle in America's collective vein. Trump is cultural heroin. He makes some feel better for a bit, but he cannot fix what ails them, and one day they'll realize it." In other words, he only cares about one person, and he reminded this country about that last night. The left knows it, J.D. Vance knows it, and now undecided voters are reminded of it, and reminded why so many of them came out to deny him a second term back in 2020. And despite Donald Trump's campaign's best efforts to convince us otherwise, nothing has changed. He's the same person he was then, only more intent on seeking retribution and ending our democracy. And that's not something that he can hide because it is fundamentally who he is. If Donald Trump wins, this country will be better off for only one person, and that person is Donald Trump. I've got a really exciting announcement. I've written a book. It's called Shameless. This book explores how Republicans have exploited their historical branding while attacking our democracy, how the media has proven itself a willful participant, and how Democrats can learn from this to rebalance the political scales and save our democracy. It has been a lifelong dream of mine to write my own book, and so I'd like to ask you to pre-order it by clicking the link right here on the screen. And if you buy within this pre-order period, your book is going to come with a signed nameplate. As you know, I've never had a single sponsor on my channel. I don't ask for money or anything like that, but if you're looking for a way to support me, this is hands down the best way to do it. So again, follow the link right here on the screen, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for pre-ordering Shameless. And as always, make sure to subscribe to see more of my content.